In September of last year, South Korea was hit with heartbreaking news. Yoanna, a well-known public figure in the broadcasting world and a familiar face to many viewers, tragically passed away at just 28 years old. Her sudden passing left many in shock, with fans and colleagues struggling to comprehend what had happened. At first, details surrounding her passing were close to non-existent. Reports only surfaced months later, revealing that she had quietly been laid to rest by her family in September. No official cause was given, leaving many questions unanswered. People who had seen her on TV delivering weather updates with her signature grace and professionalism couldn't believe she was gone. How could someone so young, bright, and full of potential disappear just like that? Yoanna wasn't just known for delivering the daily forecast. Before she became a familiar face on TV, she lived a life that many would envy. Her journey into the spotlight started long before she ever stood in front of a weather map. In 2017, she gained recognition after winning the Hermoso Beauty Award at the JYP 13th Open Audition, a competition known for scouting some of the biggest talents in the K-pop industry. At the time, she was training to be an idol, chasing a dream that so many young adults in South Korea share. But instead of debuting as a singer, she gravitated toward another path, one that still kept her in front of the cameras. Her captivating presence and undeniable charm led her to the 89th Chunyang Festival in 2019, where she was selected under the name Suk and even made it to the finals of the supermodel contest that same year. She was known for her elegance and beauty, effortlessly switching between modeling, public appearances, and media work. But it wasn't until May 2021 that she found her true calling: broadcasting. She joined MBC as a weathercaster after passing through their highly competitive open recruitment process. From that moment on, she became a regular face in South Korean households, delivering weather updates with professionalism and a warm smile. Whether it was weekday newscasts or weekend bulletins, she was there, ensuring viewers stayed informed. Then in 2022, she gained even more attention when she was featured on the popular variety show You Quiz on the Block. It was a rare chance for the public to see a different side of her, not just as a broadcaster, but as a person with dreams, struggles, and ambitions. She spoke about how honored she was to be able to introduce the profession of weathercasting to a broader audience. She had been one of the youngest to join MBC's weather team, and despite her limited experience, she was determined to work hard and prove herself. Her appearance on the show only solidified her image as a rising star in the industry. She was intelligent and graceful and had a long career ahead of her, but behind the cameras, there were struggles that few knew about. For months, the world was left in the dark about what really happened to Yoanna. Fans and colleagues were left to speculate, hoping for answers. But in January of this year, the devastating truth finally came to light. Yoanna didn't pass away naturally. She, unfortunately, took her own life. Her relatives revealed that she had survived 2 critical moments in the days leading up to her passing. News outlets reported that she attempted to take her own life twice before actually succeeding. Moreover, family members shared she had visited more than 10 psychiatric clinics and that she was even on medication. In her final note, she expressed she was filled with exhaustion, writing, "I'm so tired of living. I hate that I can't do what I love to the fullest. Please hold my funeral like a party outdoors. Wear a dress or something pretty and come while eating finger food and smiling." What made these revelations even more painful was what came next. It wasn't just personal struggles that led her to make this drastic decision. It was the horrifying mistreatment she was enduring at her workplace. For months, the truth about what happened to Yoanna was deeply buried until her family revealed an audio recording that changed everything. In this recording, she is heard pleading with MBC officials, desperately trying to explain the torment she was facing at work. She detailed the cruel mistreatment she had endured at the hands of 2 senior weathercasters, breaking down as she tried to understand why this was happening to her. At one point, Yoanna's own words captured the helplessness she felt, as she said, "It's too painful. The words are too harsh. Is this workplace mistreatment, or am I at fault?" On February 1st, 2025, JTBC's investigative program crime chief and former MBC reporter Kim Se, who is known for his controversial far-right YouTube channel, shook the nation by revealing the names, faces, and chat logs of the people who tormented Yoanna. They exposed everything and left absolutely nothing to the imagination. The evidence, shared by Yoanna's own family, painted a horrifying picture of systematic workplace mistreatment. At the center of it all were 4 MBC weathercasters: Choi Ah-ri, Park Ha-myung, Kim Ga-young, and Lee Hyun-sung, colleagues who should have been her support system but instead became her worst nightmare. One of the most disturbing revelations was a private Kakao Talk group chat, where these 4 Weathercasters mocked, insulted, and ridiculed Yoanna in the most disgusting and dehumanizing ways. They humiliated her, excluded her from work groups, and spread malicious rumors about her personal hygiene, calling her insane and painting her off as an attention seeker. They would say things like, "She was nasty. I think she shows up as soon as she gets up after having passed out drunk the last night." One even wished for her to mess up on air so she would be fired, saying, "You know what? I hope she messes up and gets kicked out for missing a broadcast or something. I hate her so much." They even went as far as comparing her to Yeonjun, the infamous perpetrator from The Glory. They were mocking Yoanna, saying that she was playing the victim and that even Yeonjun was good at broadcasting, unlike her. It didn't end there, though, as South Korean news outlet Mail Shinmun shed some light on how it all started. According to the report, the mistreatment began in March 2022, less than a year after she had joined MBC as a freelance weathercaster in May 2021. The note describes how one senior colleague blamed her for mistakes they made, while another became hostile when Yoanna corrected inaccurate weather information, accusing her of disrespecting her seniors instead of acknowledging the error. Additionally, she was frequently kept at the office long after work hours under the pretense of learning forecasting lessons, where she was subjected to unnecessary torment and emotional distress. The mistreatment escalated when she was invited to appear on TVN's U Quiz on the Block, which was supposed to be a major milestone in her career. Instead of celebrating her achievement, her colleagues ridiculed her, questioning why she had been chosen and belittling her skills. Mail Shinmun further confirmed that there were numerous text messages and audio recordings exposing how her colleagues repeatedly mocked and isolated her, reinforcing a toxic work environment that left her emotionally exhausted. Despite reaching out for help and informing 4 different MBC employees about the harassment she endured, no investigation was conducted and her cries for help were ignored. When confronted, one of the accused weathercasters refused to respond, while another snapped at reporters, calling the questions about Yoanna inappropriate. In the wake of Yoanna's tragic passing, the public's demand for accountability only grew louder. However, instead of taking immediate action, MBC's response was rather disappointing. They released an official statement denying that Yoanna had previously complained about workplace mistreatment. The network claimed that she had never formally filed any concerns to HR, the Clean Center, or any supervisors. They maintained that had they received any complaints, an investigation would have been launched immediately. This statement directly contradicted what her family had revealed, that she had reached out to 4 different MBC employees about the torment she endured. The public wasn't buying it, and as outrage grew, ordinary citizens began taking matters into their own hands. On January 29th, an individual identified as A filed a formal complaint against MBC's CEO, An Hyung-jun, along with department heads and Yoanna's colleagues at the Seoul Mapo Police Station and the Ministry of Employment and Labor. The complaint accused MBC employees of violating the anti-stalking law, alleging that they repeatedly contacted her outside of work hours and behaved negatively toward her, contributing to her mental distress and ultimately her passing. The complaint also accused MBC's leadership of aiding in evidence destruction and professional negligence. A pointed out that Yoanna had informed 4 MBC officials about the mistreatment she was experiencing, which was supported by text messages, audio recordings, and her final note. Yet MBC continued to deny any prior knowledge of her suffering, raising serious concerns about the company's ineffective reporting and response system. The complaint also referenced Article 76, 3 of the Labor Standards Act, which requires employers to conduct an unbiased investigation and take protective measures if workplace mistreatment is reported or detected, even if the victim does not explicitly request it. The fact that MBC had failed to act despite having been informed was now being seen as a serious legal violation. Meanwhile, Yoanna's family wasn't staying silent either. On January 23rd, they filed a lawsuit for damages against her colleagues at the Seoul Central District Court, officially holding them accountable for the mistreatment she endured. In response, MBC released a statement promising a factual investigation. But on January 30th, the family announced that they would not be requesting one, instead calling for an internal investigation and a formal apology. Despite the public outrage and ongoing investigation, some of those implicated in Yoanna's mistreatment case are already attempting to move on as if nothing happened. Kim Ga-young, one of the accused weathercasters, Weathercasters appeared on MBC's news desk on February 1st, delivering the weather forecast as if her name hadn't just been exposed in a national scandal. But viewers immediately noticed something different. The comment section for the broadcast was disabled, while NBC continued to allow comments on other segments. The sudden restriction on Weathercaster-related content raised suspicions that the network was trying to control the backlash. But no amount of damage control can erase what has happened. Yoanna's case has started an important conversation on a national level, forcing South Korea to confront the exploitation of freelance workers and the systemic workplace mistreatment that had gone unchecked for far too long. Lawmakers from both ruling and opposition parties have called for a deeper investigation beyond MBC's internal inquiry, questioning whether the network is even capable of holding itself accountable after 4 months of inaction. Police have now launched a preliminary investigation, and MBC's leadership, including its CEO and Hyung-jun, is facing formal complaints filed with the Ministry of Employment and Labor. Meanwhile, activists and labor advocates are using this moment to push for real change. Reports show that 1 in 4 office workers in Korea has worked under unlawful freelance contracts, many of whom have no legal protection against workplace mistreatment. The civic labor group Gapjil 119 has called for the ratification of the International Labor Organization's Violence and Harassment Convention, which would ensure that all workers, including freelancers, have legal protections against discrimination and harassment. This movement is gaining traction because this is not the first time a celebrity's passing has forced the country to reevaluate its laws. In previous cases, public outcry following tragic stories has led to legislative reforms, proving that while South Korea has been slow to act, it can no longer afford to ignore these systemic issues. Yoanna's story is no longer just about one woman's suffering. It is now a battle for the rights of thousands. And while the perpetrators may hope to quietly return to their normal lives, this time, South Korea is watching, and they're not going to let this slide.